morning, children. Today we are going to discuss about the most interesting chapter in history, and that is Nazism and the rise of Hitler. And when the personality Hitler clicks into our mind, the first thing that comes in our mind is that what a personality who wanted to control the world single-handedly, and how he achieved all this, that we will discuss in this chapter. This chapter will have 5 subheadings. The first will be the birth of Weimar Republic, the second will be Hitler's rise to power, and the third, what was Nazi worldview, and the fourth will be youth in Nazi Germany, and at last we will discuss about the ordinary people and the crime Hitler and his party conducted against humanity. So let us start the chapter. Let's start the chapter with a story, and the story is of a child of 11 years old whose name was Helmut. So our chapter starts with the story of Helmut and how the child felt, what he experienced. That we will discuss, then we will go in detail. Helmut was an 11 years old child, and it was in the spring of 1945 he overheard his parents talking to just give up their life, because if they would survive they would have been caught by the Allies. That he had heard, but he could not understand. Next day his father took him, had a good drive, had a good time, but what he saw when he got up in the next day, he found his father dead. It means his father had shot dead himself. He was so much traumatized that for coming 9 years he feared to take food from his mother, fearing that his mother would poison him. He was not understanding what was Nazi idea, why his father killed himself. But a small child kept in his mind that his father killed himself and the mother may kill the child also. So that was the trauma the child had. So it was in May 1945, Hitler and Goebbels, who was Goebbels? His propaganda minister, they committed suicide in Berlin bunker. Berlin में bunker के अंदर they committed suicide. International Military Tribunal was set up in Nuremberg. And what was the objective of this military tribunal? It was to prosecute Nazis. And 3 charges were leveled against Nazis. They were to be prosecuted for their crimes against peace, for their crimes against humanity, and for the war crimes. In fact, Germany waged a genocidal war. Now, what is a genocidal war? Mass killing of people, mass murder of people is known as genocidal war. So, Germany killed 6 million Jews. Because of hatredness for a particular community, 6 million Jews were killed, 1 million Polish civilians were killed, and 70,000 Germans were also killed. So this was known as the genocidal war. So to understand this, we have to discuss about rise of Hitler. And for this, we will go back to the First World War and the effect of First World War on Germany. For this, we need to discuss about the birth of Weimar Republic. Germany was defeated in the hands of the Allied power, and it was in November 1918, Germany suffered defeat. And as per the treaty, Germany had to pay the war indemnity, war losses, and the then Emperor of Germany fled away. When Germany was defeated, the Emperor fled away, and a new assembly was set up, the National Assembly. It met at Weimar, and the objective was to establish a democratic setup for Germany, and deputies were elected to the parliament, and the parliament of Germany was known as the Reichstag, and the deputies were elected on the basis of universal adult suffrage. Now, what was universal adult suffrage? All people were having voting rights, including women. Now, what were the harsh agreements Germany had to face in this treaty? Germany lost overseas colonies. Whatever territories it had conquered, all its overseas colonies, Germany lost. 13% of its territories were taken by the Allies. 75% of the iron production was taken. 26% of the coal. Now these were divided among these countries: France, Poland, Denmark, Lithuania. They divided all these resources of Germany among themselves. A war compensation of £6 billion was being given. Under the effect of First World War, we will discuss two important topics also. First will be political radicalism, किस तरीके से political changes हुए जर्मनी में, and the economic crisis. These two can be two different questions. Now let us start with political radicalism. Soldiers were placed above civilians. Now Germany gave more importance to soldiers. Media glorified trench life. Trench life मतलब trench में रहते हैं soldiers, तो trench life was glorified. Aggressive war propaganda was there throughout Germany. The whole of Germany was filled with aggressive war propaganda. Democracy was a fragile idea. उस टाइम में डेमोक्रेसी के लिए कोई इंटरेस्टेड नहीं थे कि सबको राइट्स मिले. जब जर्मनी was going through so much crisis, it was so much humiliated, its pride was gone, it was defeated, so no one was ready for democracy. So concept of democracy was very fragile. Okay, there was demand for Soviet style of government. The Spartacists, they demanded for Soviet style of government, but the Weimar Republic crushed it. उनके डिमांड को क्रश कर दिया. Okay, and with the help of a war veteran organization which was known as Free Corps. तो ये 1 मार्क के लिए आ सकता है. वो war veteran organization जो जर्मनी में था under Weimar Republic, what was its name? It was Free Corps. And the Spartacists then formed Communist Party of Germany. So this was the political changes that took place in Germany after First World War. Then we will discuss about economic impact. Germany had to pay all the war reparations in gold, and slowly the gold reserves declined. It ended. So in 1923, Germany refused to pay. So France took the territory called Ruhr to claim their coal. हमें यहाँ पढ़ा था पहले कि क्या क्या चीजें डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन हुआ एलाइज के बीच में, उसके कोल, आयरन, ये सारे. तो टू क्लेम इट्स कोल, फ्रांस टुक द एरिया Ruhr. So Germany had no option. So it started printing paper currency. उस टाइम में कौन सी करेंसी चलता था? गोल्ड करेंसी. But Germany started printing paper currency. So value of German mark fell dramatically. Drastically, the value of German mark fell. जब prices value of currency कम हो जाता है, then prices of goods soared very high. जैसे when we compare between US dollar and India, तो वैल्यू ऑफ इंडियन करेंसी इज वेरी लेस. ठीक है, तो वैसे ही जर्मन मार्क का वैल्यू कम होते गया क्योंकि उनकी इकोनॉमिक कंडीशन बहुत पुअर होते गया, एंड प्राइसेस ऑफ गुड्स सोड वेरी हाई. एंड एक डाटा दिया गया है आपके बुक में that when people were carrying so much money also they were unable to purchase food, as the data is being given that in April US dollar was equal to 24,000 marks. In July 1 US dollar was equivalent to 3,53,000 marks, or in August 1 US dollar became equivalent to 46,21,000 marks. मतलब such a decline of the economy of Germany. And there is an image also which shows that when people were carrying cart loads of money, but they were not getting even bread. So this type of situation is known as hyperinflation, when the prices rise phenomenally high, and that was the condition of Germany. Such a horrible economic condition Germany had to suffer from. While Germany was passing through a condition of hyperinflation, the prices rose phenomenally high, the condition of people became worst. Then USA came up with the Dawes Plan, and Dawes Plan means it was a plan introduced by USA to bail out Germany from the economic crisis. How USA was going to do it? By easing the टर्म्स ऑफ रिप्रेशन. इसका मतलब जो एग्रीमेंट वर्साइल्स में बना था, उस जो एग्रीमेंट की टर्म्स थे उसको थोड़ा सा ईज करना है, थोड़ा सा ऐसा बनाना है कि जर्मनी को ज्यादा इकोनॉमिक नुकसान ना हो. सो इट वांटेड टू ईज द फाइनेंशियल बर्डन ऑफ जर्मनी बाय जस्ट रीवर्किंग द टर्म्स ऑफ रिप्रेशन. And in 1930s, the whole world suffered from economic depression. So USA and Germany were also badly hit by it. It was in 1929, Wall Street Exchange crashed. People made frantic effort to sell their shares. जो भी shares companies में था, वो effort किए लोगों ने कि बेच दे तो कुछ ना कुछ मिल जाए. Okay, because there was economic downfall all over the world. By 1932, Germany's industrial production reduced to 40% of 1929 level. 1929 में जर्मनी के जितनी इकोनॉमिक प्रोडक्शन था उसकी 40% रह गया 3 साल में. मतलब 1932 में उतने प्रोडक्शन का 40% बचा. Jobs disappeared because when there was such economic conditions, so people did not get jobs. So criminal activities increased among the youth. जब हमने ये पढ़ा कि कार्ट लोड ऑफ मनी लेके लोग जाते थे तो ब्रेड नहीं मिलता था, तो what was to be the condition? Definitely, so criminal activities was to increase. Youth were found in the streets with placards, willing to do any work. पढ़े लिखे जितने भी हो, now everybody wanted work because they needed to survive, okay, to feed their stomach, so they were willing to do any work. Anxiety and fear developed among people, specifically the salaried people and the small businessmen. And this situation of anxiety and fear of losing their jobs, it's known as proletarianization. This is very important. 2 टर्म आपको इसमें याद रखना है, हाइपर इन्फ्लेशन, प्रोलेटराइजेशन. ओके, तो अभी भी कोरोना की कंडीशन में बहुत सारे कंट्रीज के भी इकोनॉमिक कंडीशंस इफेक्ट हुआ है. मेनी पीपल लॉस्ट देयर जॉब्स, मेनी पीपल आर नॉट गेटिंग देयर सैलरीज प्रॉपरली. सो दैट इज द इकोनॉमिक इम्पैक्ट. और जो प्राइवेट सेक्टर्स में है उनकी जॉब चला गया है, दे आर नॉट गेटिंग ए जॉब इजीली. सो दैट इज दे आर डेवलपिंग ए फीलिंग ऑफ प्रोलेटराइजेशन, मीन्स a fear and anxiety, so that whether they would be getting their jobs back or not. So that developed among the people of Germany. Now let us find out the inherent defects of the Weimar Republic, which could not control the situation. Why the situation became so worse in Germany? Okay, the first defect was proportional representation. In the Republic, there was proportional representation. What was the defect of it? It led to rule of coalitions. No one got majority so that their ideologies could be implemented. In such a situation, all did not get any proper mandate, and so they could not implement their policies in a better way because all were given a proportional representation. मतलब as per their numbers they were given representation, so that was a defect. Article 48, Weimar Republic introduced Article 48. Now this article gave the powers to president to impose emergency situation को control करने के लिए without thinking about it, the president was imposing emergency. अगर there was a situation of proletarianization, hyperinflation, then the president was imposing emergency without coming up with constructive measures. Then it gave power to president to suspend civil rights and rule by decree. Now, what was rule by decree? कोई भी law pass कर देना, अभी से ये rule लागू होगा. So all these which were introduced by Article 48 were definitely a drawback of the Weimar Republic. This republic saw 20 cabinets within its short span, and which lasted an average of 239 days each. And people lost confidence in democratic principles. अगर democratic principles से ऐसे हाल होना है, लोगों को मतलब ऐसे situation में जाना है कि खाना ना मिले, and people are passing through the stage of proletarianization, then they did not want democracy. This made the situation more vulnerable. So now that led to rise up a dictator, Hitler.